These are my prelim predictions and breakdowns for UFC Fight Night Nicolau versus Perez. Starting off, we have Gabriel Benitez versus Hashir Maheshate. Let's start off with Gabriel Benitez. She was a nice 1-2. He's a good guillotine. He has nice leg kicks. He's getting a bit older though, and he's not great at fighting off the back foot, which I think Maheshate is going to be looking to take advantage of. Maheshate in his last fight did get KO'd brutally against Borishev. I think I have a clip of it up here. He's going to bounce back off of that. He's a younger fighter. He does have low activity, but he's a good counter striker, so I think the counter striking is what's going to lead him to the win here against Benitez. If Benitez is a bit younger, I might give him the win, but I'm going to go with Maheshate to get a round 2 knockout. Moving on, we have Ivana Petrovic versus Liang Na. This is a typical low-level MMA fight for women's. There's not a whole lot to speak about. Petrovic is terrible stand-up. She's an okay ground game, but like even looking at that head kick she threw there, it's just slow. There's nothing there. She's no finishing ability whatsoever. Whereas on the other hand, Liang Na only gets finished or finishes. I'd give her a slight advantage, although she is a big underdog. She has that killer, be killed type mentality, and I think she has more ways to finish this fight. She might finish on the feet. I doubt it, but I think her way to victory is similar to this fight. Get the fight to the mat and look for submission, which I think she's going to do in the first round. So I'm going to go with Liang Na, round 1 submission. Moving on, we've Gabe Green versus James Liantop. Gabe Green, decent fighter. He does have good pressure, as you can see in this fight, although it did get him rocked by Brian Battle and eventually finished. He does have some time off after this KO loss though, which I do like. He uses his counter striking as his defense. He doesn't really put his hands up. He just kind of tends to counter with his shots. But the only problem with that is I don't think he's one shot knockout power, so he needs to connect multiple times to really hurt an opponent. Whereas he's taken on a kind of unknown prospect here in James Liantop, who seemingly is very good in the clinch. He's a size advantage. He's younger. He's never been finished, but the only problem that I'd see here for Liantop is that he has fought lower level competition. He hasn't fought anyone to the standard of Gabe Green, although Gabe Green isn't exactly the highest level. He's still higher than anyone James Liantop has fought so far, but I would edge the way of Liantop getting a decision win here, so my pick, Liantop, unanimous decision. Moving on, we have Marnik Mann versus Ketlin Souza. I can't explain to you how much of a waste of time it was studying tape for this fight. All I learned is that the women's division in the UFC is pretty brutal. Marnik Mann should not be in the UFC. If she was a man, she'd be cut automatically because her skills are just not high enough for this level. Souza, on the other hand, she's decent. She's not great. She's lost to Karine Silva, who's fighting on the main card. She does remind me of a mini Jessica Andrade in a way. Similar look, similar build. If only she was as skilled. So, my pick, Souza, round 1 knockout. Moving up the prelims, we have Dontel Mays versus Kyo Machado. This is your casual, low-level, fat boy, heavyweight fight between Dontel Mays and Machado here. Once again, I struggle to watch tape between these two very low-level fighters. Both look to keep the fight standing. Neither of them have any bit of power considered as heavyweight. Machado has a higher strikes landed per minute by nearly 3 strikes over Dontel Mays, but he has less fights in the UFC, so I don't think either of them are going to get finished. I think this fight's just going to be a boring 15 minutes of 2 fat boys fighting, and I think Machado is just going to take it. So my pick, Machado, unanimous decision win. Moving on, we have Austin Hubbard versus Michael Figlak. Moving slightly up in the skill levels here. Figlak is coming off a loss to Perez-Prelim. As we've learned later on in his career, isn't actually that bad of a fighter, so that hasn't aged too badly. Austin Hubbard, on the other hand, is coming out of the Ultimate Fighter season with Conor McGregor, where he failed to impress, lost to Kurt Hollabaugh, who then lost his debut in the UFC, second debut in the UFC. So any fighters after that Ultimate Fighter season are refused to back. I think the level was too low, so I don't even think he should be in the UFC. I think Figlak is a slightly higher skill level than Hubbard, but I think the fight's definitely going to go the distance. Neither of them, to be honest, are great, but Mike Figlak is going to get a unanimous decision win here. So, moving on, we have Rani Yahya versus Victor Henry in the prelim main event. This is going to be a completely one-sided fight in my opinion. Victor Henry is actually an underrated fighter. He has some high-level skills. In his fight with Barcelos, he showed his technique in the striking, how clean it is, how crisp it is. He got a surprise win there. I didn't expect him to get the win, but he did get the win. Rani Yahya, on the other hand, purely relies on his submissions. If he can get the fight to the ground, he's very dangerous. But if he can't, he's just an old man who happens to look a whole lot like Beneil Dariush. I think you can't look anywhere besides Victor Henry getting the victory here. And I think he's going to get a finish here too. Rani Yahya is just getting up there in age. So I'm going to go with Victor Henry to get a round 2 knockout.